Okay. Think we're good to go. Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, welcome to the Beacon TVL show, the weekly podcast from Beacon DeFi, your beacon in the world of decentralized finance. I'm your host, the DeFi professor, Professor Chris. We've got a great show lined up for you today as we tackle the news of the week that's relevant to you, our dear users in the world of on-chain investing. Hello to all of our friends out there, especially listening on our podcast version of this, which is also available wherever you can get your favorite podcast. Today on the show, I'll start with the gentleman directly underneath me. Back on the panel, we have Mike, Director of Sales and Trading at Netcoins. How are you today, sir?
Doing great. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for being here. To his right, we have our from our partners at Talisman Wallet, worldwide famous DJ Robert Dubs on the ones and twos today. How are you, Robert?
Great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I can't complain. It's been a really interesting week. The market's a little funky, but it's been a great week starting today. And then to my right here on the screen, we have a featured guest today. We have someone that I met through Matt at Zeta Chain. Hello to you, Matt, CEO and founder of Amana DeFi. We have Rich on the show. Welcome, Rich. How are you, sir?
Very good, very good. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on the show.
I must say, I love the accent, sir. May I ask where you are currently based?
South Africa and a little town called Plettenberg Bay in South Africa. So
beautiful.
But it's cold down here. It's winter at the moment.
I'm flying there tomorrow because it's 99 degrees here today. Well, I mean, I'm in my basement, so it's always cold down here. So half the time you'll see me wearing a hoodie at all times of the year. But quick little open. I'll put it out there. I've been really in a snacky kind of mood. So what I want to know is, and feel free to, if you're in the audience, put in the comments, tell me where what your favorite snack is right now. For me personally, my favorite snack, and it's this right here. I'm not sure exactly. I found it like a year and a half ago when I was on a trip to California. I went to H Mart, which is a very large, just a large, like Asian grocery chain that's along the West Coast. But I'm a big fan of Korean culture and food. This is Sindangdong tteokbokki. Tteokbokki is rice cakes and like gochujang sauce, but this is it's sweet. Actually, it's sweet and spicy and has parsley flakes on top. So there you go. That's my go-to snack right now. So if you have a go-to snack, like something I should be trying, that's like really delicious, and this is something that I have at least I'll buy it twice a month. I'll buy 2 bags at a time and just kind of snack on them when I don't have. Normally for me, it's normally like a mix with like cashews and some other types of nuts. But yeah, big on the tteokbokki. I'll go to you, Robert. What is your favorite little go-to snack?
It's kind of funny coming from Mexico because there's so many like great, authentic Mexican snacks here. But recently, I've been snacking on like Tostitos with like dipping nacho cheese. Yeah.
Is that blasphemy to have Tostitos in Mexico City?
You would think so, but actually, my girlfriend loves it too. So,
okay.
And she's Mexican, so it is kind of blasphemy, but it's just it's been our recent favorite snack, though. Yeah.
Got it. What about you, Rich? Is there a go-to snack for you, sir?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm with you on the cashews, but there's something else that we get for the kids sometimes for their lunch boxes. There's salami sticks. So they're sort of like mini salami sticks. They're about so long and they're quite thin, and they go in the fridge. We buy them in huge packets, but I just went and checked before this show. The packet is kind of half finished already. So between myself and the kids, they're disappearing pretty quickly.
Got it. Yeah, salami sticks. That sounds good. So we have Tostitos, we have Korean tteokbokki chips, and we have Tostitos. And Mike, what about you? What is your go-to snack right now?
Got to be beef jerky. Always got to represent. I'm from Alberta. Have that good Alberta beef. That's what I grew up with.
I have heard good things about Alberta beef. Is it really all it's cracked up to be?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
100%. AAA Alberta beef. I think I don't know, Texas has got some good barbecue. Alberta's definitely got a lockdown too.
Well, out
Yeah,
here in Nebraska, we do have some good beef as well. So one day we'll have to have some steaks and stuff like that for sure.
definitely in South Africa as well, guys. We don't have beef jerky. We've got something called biltong that South Africa is
biltong,
very,
yes,
very
yes.
famous for. Yeah, so which is that and braais and boerewors. These are all the barbecue type things that we enjoy in South Africa. So if you like that sort of thing, definitely come and visit.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our parts in the news. I wanted to first wrong one. First, give a shout out to our friends at Raidmaker, JD Seraphin, founder there. He was actually on our first ever Twitter space yesterday. Feel free to check that out on our socials if you are curious about checking them out. They had their TGE today for their new Rain token, Rain, RAIIN.network. It's available on Say as well as on Kraken as the CEX partner. Congrats to them on their TGE. If you want to be part of the future of verified data streams and video, please check out rain.network. So yeah, we'll start with the very interesting market start. Apparently I am on the wrong screen for that, but looks like the market is, well, it's a little bouncy today. I guess is probably the best way to put it. I think there's a little bit of profit taking going on. There was a fun little test of the system, if you want to call it that. I know that I've seen reports that Justin Sun took 600 mil in ETH out of Aave earlier this morning, caused a fun little exercise in protecting your loops. If you're looping on Ethereum, that's a fun little exercise. So people were scrambling to unwind the trades. It looks like the unstaking queue went absolutely totally bananas for a quick. I think it's already back to where it was rates wise, but we had a fun little spike in terms of what's going on there. So, Mike, I wanted to start with you with regards to how you think the markets are looking right now. And obviously, there's a lot of things that led to the run up until today. But any thoughts on where the choppy is coming from today?
Yeah, tough to say on like a short term, but it sort of makes sense. We're at all-time highs. Someone's got to be taking profits at some point.
Exactly.
Every indicator looks good. Everything looks really positive. It seems like we're, coming out of July with a really green month, and the end of the year looks really good. It feels like based on previous history, we're 3/4 of the way through a bull market. So I think everyone's positive. I'm sure everyone's looking for alt season to come back. So yeah, it seems really healthy overall, to be honest.
I think so too. I mean, ultimately, and we're going to look at Farside data. If you haven't been to Farside before, my goodness, you'd think if I zoomed on one tab, it would zoom on all of them. But this is on farside.co.uk. Really great source if you're looking for ETF data. They track both the Bitcoin as well as the Sol ETF for Solana that's out there on the Toronto Exchange. Good for them at the Exhaust Spray. But one thing I wanted to note specifically is that we have had tremendously strong ETH ETF inflows, which of course have contributed to this move up to regaining 3,800 on the ETH side. I mean, looking at nearly $3 or $4 billion just in the past 30 days, if you want to call it math. Maybe I'm overshooting it there, but 533 million in inflows into ETH ETFs just yesterday, and 3 days before that on the weekend, 602,726 the day before on the 16th of July. I guess they're not tracking. Oh, never mind. ETFs, stock markets. So this time last week they closed at 726 million. So there is, as you mentioned, Mike, a lot of healthy movement in here. Rich, just want to kind of get your opinion, just looking on the outside here. Your opinion on the relative strength of ETH moving forward.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to me. I mean, I will be honest, we're deep in builder mode, so we stay. I catch up with the markets in larger time frames. It's been curious to me that ETH has taken so long to start moving. Bitcoin went way ahead. I know the the foundation has gone through a lot of changes. There's new leadership. I think there's a lot more structure and a lot more kind of market-focused thinking there. So really making ETH business friendly. Really putting its best foot forward in terms of how it positions itself in the world. So it seems that either that's paying dividends or this was always going to happen anyway in this part of the cycle. But it's certainly good to see.
Yeah, no, I think you actually you hit it straight on the head. Robert, I wanted to get your thoughts on this as well, because compared to where we were 4 or 5 months ago, where we saw a lot of outflows daily on the ETF. This is February, March, even on into April, and then suddenly at the beginning of June, now we're seeing a lot of power back in. And there's a lot of reasons we've talked about this, and you've been on these shows before. Strategy, strategy's one, sure. Treasury companies, legislation coming due, and that we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Growth specifically on the EVM side, turnover on leadership in the foundation. Maybe the right amount of FUD, who knows? But your thoughts on specifically just in the last 30 days, just the straight bull moves on the ETF side for the ETFs.
Yeah, I think Tom Lee and Fundstrat kind of kicked off a lot of it. Constantly going on CNBC and talking about their ETH treasury strategy, and that's creating a lot of clones for that, and and also like you alluded to, the market structure bill, pretty much making it, signaling that it's inevitable that ETH will be treated like a commodity. So I think with that kind of clarity, it's really revving things up.
Well, they've actually been framing it as the new world reserve asset, right? And to that's really positive framing for ETH.
Yeah.
If we look at bubbles over the week, today obviously is quite red, but overall, these should all bounce back at some point. But overall in the week, we're seeing some really, really positive news. Ondo is, I think, up 60% on the month, Mike. ENA also getting huge gains over the last week specifically. So, and we're seeing some, what is that, Tezos? My goodness. And Flare, that's on XRP, gaining some traction. They hit an all-time high over the last week. Oh, pump. So what do you think, Mike? Wow. Looking at this chart, what are the stories we can glean from stuff like this for people who are just looking at this for the first time?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, it feels like alt season's coming back.
Right.
I saw a chart posted the other day, and it was, I forget what the signal was, but it was basically hypothecating that this is basically like the third alt season. And they basically just had this line drawn up on the market chart, market cap chart. I think it was Bitcoin, or maybe just like total market cap of all crypto. And they were showing that after this signal hit, that it was like 12 months of basically positive growth on all the altcoin markets. So I think you are seeing that. It's going to be interesting to see if a lot of these coins are going to break out at their previous all-time highs, and what sort of movement they have after that, because you're sort of seeing everything come back to where it was in, I guess, early 2022. So, Dogecoin still has a lot of room to go. Solana, a lot of these coins are basically just getting up to retouching those all-time highs. And then if you factor in inflation, they still have to have a bit room to go on top of that. So I know I would personally be watching the inflows and the volume into these different networks, different coins, different trades to see what's going to happen. It seems to me, at least, especially on the Ethereum trade, the logic that I kept hearing, and it makes a lot of sense, and I think this is what carried that trade, was, Bitcoin hits all-time highs and people are kind of looking for another opportunity, and everything kind of lined up perfectly that Ethereum was lagging, and it was kind of the most obvious second trade after Bitcoin. It was just kind of seemed undervalued, and stable coins have just been dominating the narrative so much. So I'm surprised we didn't hear more people talking about this before, but it's pretty obvious to say, oh, well, if stable coins are taking over, a lot of them are based on Ethereum, I should probably own the network. that all the stable coins are moving on. So I think a lot of people just rotated into that and are going to ride that up for a little bit. And the ETF availability is obviously very positive, because if people can move from their Bitcoin ETF to their ETH or their Solana ETF, that would be good. And I guess that would bring me to another point is, as more of these ETFs launch for these altcoins, that's just going to be more volume that's going to move into these networks. So those would be some things I would be looking at and thinking about as we kind of go into the end of the year here.
Do you have any thoughts, Rich, on this?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. I mean, it is my part of the space, but I see quite a few DeFi tokens here. We've got Curve there, we've got Cake, Lido, so we've got staking, we've got Theta. You mentioned Ondo, so there's quite a lot that's interesting to me. They're in the EVM space. Some of the tokens that are really DEXs and staking protocols and perps and these kind of things in the DeFi space. So that's really exciting to me. And when I think, I'm always waiting for the world to cotton on to to Ethereum, to smart contracts, blockchains, and to the potential of DeFi. I think within the space we all talk about it all the time and we know it, but yeah, for that to go more broadly is exciting, and maybe this is part of that move.
Yeah, and there's a lot more behind a lot of these stories, right? You just mentioned Cake, and we just talked about this on one of our calls last week for our mastermind, that DEX volume for Pancake Swap is just about as high as it was, as you mentioned, Mike, back in like 2022. It's and Cake's on quite a few blockchains now, but still there's more than almost $2 billion still locked on BSC with tons of volume coming through. So from a yield perspective, people are not sleeping on Pancake Swap, which is something that's very interesting. One thing that this also kind of has started off from a rumor standpoint, we didn't really put it here in the news, Robert, is that, but it's in the title. But there's been a little bit of, with Pengu starting to make its way back up, NFTs are starting to creep back into mainstream conversations. With what's going on with ETH, that of course is going to be helpful for NFT markets. Pengu gaining a lot of traction with these big partnerships. They have one with Random House, they have one with NASCAR. They're coming out with a new game soon. People are starting to talk about NFTs again. Is there anything in your timeline that you're hearing about that?
Yeah, just been seeing Pengu rip like day after day. I think it's one of the strongest performing alts of the past month, with alt season kind of bubbling back up again. But I have seen a bit of activity around NFTs, maybe quote unquote making a comeback. It's just it remains to be seen what kind of new angle is going to be there. Besides just them bouncing back from really super bear market lows. I mean, what do you think is going to be the new angle there in terms of NFTs, if there is one?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think that you're just going to, as more people come back, you're going to see more marketing for things like this, right? Because NFTs, meme coins are really good oil with regards to memetics and blockchains catching fire. And we've got roughly about 4 to 5 that are going to start wanting to ramp up their marketing. So where meme coins go, NFTs will probably go as well. But seeing the grails and seeing the top 20 projects starting to make a comeback, I mean, I just saw the Moonbirds is about to make another comeback, and that we'll see exactly what happens there. But yeah, NFTs could be back on the rise. Again, hard to say even the value of that, because NFTs are so illiquid. But oftentimes when it comes to a lot of these projects, for me personally, when I recommend NFTs to people, I always say look for utility, look for something that will give you additional benefits for holding them. For example, if you're on Hyper EVM, everyone's going nuts for Hypeos and some of these other products because it does get you some benefits. It gets you airdrops. It gets you early access to other projects that you probably wouldn't hear about even if you're doing your own research. So there are some communities that are gated behind a lot of these NFT projects, and them coming back on the rise, I think overall, just bullish for DeFi. Simple as that. So speaking about that, we had a big event last week And this is all contributing to where I think ETH is just going to continue to rise. And that is Base had their new day one last week. This was on last Wednesday. It happened around 5 p.m. And essentially, what they've done is they've rebranded a lot of Base. In fact, they were on CNBC. One of their people was on there calling it Coinbase's everything app. And that's very important for the framing of where Base is going to go from here, because Coinbase, much like Robinhood, has fantastic distribution. And that's the part that's going to be difficult for a lot of people, at least in general Web3 and general DeFi, to try and battle against, because you're going to have a lot of distribution, like with them, with Robinhood, and even some of these other CEXs looking to build and bring, instead of coming with their users down into DeFi, they've taken DeFi and extracted it back up into their core offerings. Base did that with loans through Morpho, accounts through Moonwell, and various other things. And now with the Base app, everything that was on Aerodrome is now up on Coinbase.com. So, and that's still being rolled out, right? But if you're interested in getting to the Base app, it's actually quite interesting what they've done. They've found a way to merge both payments, messaging through their XMTP offering, mini apps through Farcaster, and just more of the trading with Aerodrome all brought into the app. So they're pushing it more as an open social network where your posts as a creator can be monetized, because they brought Zora in as well as part of that model. So they're trying to keep people inside the garden as long as possible. And with the way they've been able to create a little bit of FOMO, I did get my Base app invite the other day, and it took a little bit of legwork on my end, but I'm actually using it, and it's, I'll be honest, it's okay so far. There's bugs for sure, but overall, it's all about how regular people are going to want to work with other people. So Rich, I'll start with you with regards to your thoughts about how, from a marketing standpoint, how can Base really just gain a lot of traction with users with this new Base app?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to me. Firstly, it's always great to hear that even the Base app has bugs, because having just relaunched V2 of our app, I've been in like bug hell for the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Understood.
Look, I mean, I think it's very difficult for anybody to fight against the amazing marketing machine that they have there. I think what's fascinating is what you're saying about whether they're pulling DeFi up into CeFi, or we're pulling CeFi down into DeFi. We are looking to build with Coinbase at the moment, so we're using some of the on-ramp and off-ramp stuff.
Yeah.
And so far, so good with that as well. I'm not sure where this all ends, but I think, as a lot of people say, lots of experiments, lots of different offerings for users who want to come into DeFi in a different way. I don't think it can be a bad thing. And
this is all in the Base app itself is in beta. So the original Coinbase wallet, which I've used as a mobile app for years, it's a really great wallet for me to take to conferences and events, due to how it does POAPs, and it's fairly easy to use. So you can join at join.base.app. There's a wait list. They have a ton of users. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of people. On the live stream, Mike, they had 1.6 million people watching this last Wednesday at peak.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I just watched it. I was like, oh, that's nice. There's like 15,000 people. Then suddenly 1.1 million. I'm like, oh my God. There's a lot of people really watching this content, really with, and they're leaking maybe like 100 to 1,000 new people to get into the app daily. So they're creating that FOMO. I mean, I certainly felt it, because I had to use some connections to get mine. And I'm trying, if I can find a way to get app codes out to everybody else, I will definitely let you guys know. But Mike, being out in Canada, what is your thoughts on how they're attacking this issue with distribution, as well as trying to keep both sides of their business happy?
Yeah, how much time do we have? I'm really interested in this whole area. I mean,
my friends and I
were talking. Yeah, my friends and I were talking about this over the summer. Robinhood's position themselves very well to take this market. They went, centralized finance first, then they moved into crypto, and then they had the regulatory set up to be able to offer everything. This whole everything app area, I'm actually kind of surprised that this is the angle that Coinbase took, and it's really smart. They're competing with Robinhood, but they're also, they're trying to create the WeChat of North America. And this is the whole reason that Elon allegedly bought X beyond free speech, is he was supposed to make the everything app. And we haven't really seen that happen yet. They've sort of done a Visa integration, but it's never really come together. This seems like a legitimate, social payments, everything all in one place. And, even if you're looking at Facebook or Zuckerberg, like maybe this is a real competitor to that. They tried to do Libra. They could never get any of their financial tooling off the ground. And I'm really curious what, some of the big social platforms think when they look at this. I think it's pretty interesting. It makes sense. You can do everything in one place. And Coinbase is pushing hard. They're pushing hard everywhere. Canada was a big area that they wanted to do distribution. Our regulations have been a little more consistent than the US. So when the US kind of shut down after 2022, Coinbase pushed really hard in this market, as well as I think Europe and a few other places. I'm not sure if this is available yet for Canadians to onboard onto, but they're pushing Base really hard. They've done a lot of events here, and they're really bullish. So yeah, it's super interesting. I even want to try it. It looks pretty cool.
I'll let you know if I get a code for sure. Yeah, I saved you for last on this, Robert.
Yeah, all good.
I mean, I did want to say real quick before I get your take. I want to say, obviously this is the messaging part with XMTP. For me, the most interest I had, because I saw what they were building with it 2 years ago at ETH Denver. Yeah, this is there's a lot that they've packed in here, Robert, and you work at a wallet company.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, I mean, is this inspiration? Also, a quick shout out to the banker team. We've been calling on bankers since late last year. So congrats to everybody who got in on banker early, because they're being listed on Coinbase the next week. But yeah, with you as a wallet provider, talks internally about this?
Not so much in this direction, to be the everything app.
Yeah.
Like all this kind of social integration stuff. Although, there have been some talks about some kind of social feed, for sure. But I mean, this is like a full suite of product here.
Yeah,
so.
they have dozens of engineers working on this, right? And they have.
Yeah.
So it's obvious.
But I mean, the way it's structured is it's as a wallet product, it's pretty not easy, but it's like pretty. There's definitely a path to like integrate these things without having to build your own.
Mm-hmm.
So we could, like, down the line always just use their API and just integrate it directly in. If that's.
Which I did mention to you in DM. So.
yeah, exactly. So
yeah, this does have Farcaster built in. So a lot of different properties have come into this, right? Farcaster for the mini apps, just a lot of social stuff with XMTP. They've got Clanker and Banker working in here to buy coins directly from the wallet. They brought Aerodrome up to have the DEX available in your hands. Interesting they took a mobile first approach here, because the desktop Coinbase wallet probably won't have this for a while. So they're going after a specific audience, and it was very apparent during the keynote. So definitely check that out. We'll do a quick flyby here. The other big news of the week is that President Trump signed the Genius Act. That came in on Friday. They did that quickly, very quickly. And it's no surprise, because that was the one thing that he wanted to do, was to get everything in by August, probably before they take their break in Congress. That makes sense. Just to kind of go over just a little bit of the goals of what got signed in with the Genius Act as signed. So I'll read a quick list and we'll get some takes here. Yield-bearing stables are not allowed in the United States. That is not a surprise. That was something that banks really pushed hard against. and they control quite a few senators. Let's be quite honest, in the bureaucracy, the lobbies are quite powerful in the U.S. That was one that was a non-starter. So, yield-bearing stables are not allowed. So that freezes out derivatives, that freezes out rebasers, algo stables, which is fine, honestly, because those really just exist in DeFi in a bit of a corner. Anyway, there has to be full AML, anti-money laundering, KYC compliance. Interesting one here: holders can redeem at par within 2 business days. That is a mandatory thing that all issuers have to follow. Monthly attestations and independent audits are mandatory as well, which is fine. That's something that everyone should be doing. There is caps for oversight and issuing by non-banks, which I found very interesting. Issuers must back all coins 1-to-1 with high-quality liquid assets. That's cash, short-term U.S. Treasuries, and other dollar equivalents. It's not on here, but I believe tech companies are not allowed to be issuing stablecoins, but retailers like Walmart can. So that'll be interesting to see exactly where we go from there. We've talked about that on the show previously. So, Mike, I'll start with you. This is obviously going to bring in a flood of issuers coming in now that it's legal. Citi, JP Morgan, Bank of America has already said they're doing one back in February. As long as it was legal, it's now legal. So based on what you're seeing from your end, where do you think the tsunami starts?
Not in Canada. I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say where. Are the banks going to be pushing this really hard? Does it compete? I mean, structurally, it's so different from the existing banking system. The fact that everything's backed 1-to-1, just fundamentally, that's not how the banking system works. It's all fractional reserve, right? So, are they going to be really motivated to do this? I kind of want to understand a few of especially the yield bearing piece. I don't think I fully understand how that part is going to work, because that's kind of a core part of the business model right now, especially with USDC. They share a lot of that yield back to Coinbase. So I'd be interested to see how that works, because obviously if you're going to issue this product, there's got to be some benefit to you as a business. And where's the money to be made, or is it just efficiencies in terms of settlement, which that's more of an internal decision for businesses. Obviously there's a lot of benefit there. On remittances, obviously it cuts down on a lot of costs. One thing I am really looking forward to is kind of the end mile problem being solved, which is actually being able to spend your stable coins. I still see that as a piece that hasn't really been solved yet. So with greater issuance and maybe integration into point of sale and sort of existing payment systems, that's going to help that a lot, and it's arguably going to hurt some of the exchanges, because right now if you take in USDC from somewhere else or an international place, or you're transferring it between people, you kind of have to go to an existing crypto wallet or an exchange. And then there's still that need for the on-ramps or off-ramps a lot of times if you want to actually spend it. So having some more of that availability, I think, is going to help, because it just removes one more hurdle for people to actually use these, rather than it just being a trading tool.
Yeah, Rich, I wanted to get your opinion as someone who's not in the U.S. Do you feel that this is going to start a domino effect now that the U.S. finally has something in place? Many more countries that are not the EU are going to start, putting together similar packages that hopefully are pro crypto and pro DeFi.
I mean, that you said countries that are not the EU.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down on the southern tip of Africa here. I've had a couple of meetings with the regulators here. They were very curious about what we're doing, quite fascinated by DeFi. I think they were just trying to get their heads around crypto still. And then DeFi was a kind of a step too far, but they were interested and curious, and they had a playground that we could interact with and so on. So I know between ourselves and South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, these are major centers of crypto activity on the African continent. And for a lot of people, having a kind of world reserve currency like the US dollar on your phone or in your wallet is a lot more of a stable asset than relying on the local currency. Not so much in South Africa, but in Kenya and Nigeria, it's actually a currency that a lot of things are traded in. And I don't mean just trading on chain. I mean, actually, goods and services are paid for in US dollars. So I know there's already a lot of that sort of thing happening. I'm not as familiar with regulations across the rest of the African continent, though, and what's happening there. But I know the activity is happening anyway, where the regulators, I think, are more or less playing catch up. And I think in a lot of cases we'll probably take a lead from the US and do something similar.
Yeah, that's great insight. I know that Ripple's done a lot of work in Africa, so hopefully that work leads to some fruitful things from a digital asset for stable coins, at least from that standpoint. So Robert, I love that you said that you haven't had a bank account in 4 years. I mean, this has played totally into your favor. One thing that's interesting about the caps for oversight is that I think it's like if they're issuing less than like I think $10 million, there's no oversight at all with regards to any of that. I need to verify that, so don't take that as I just remember seeing that there is you don't have to worry about CFTC oversight. This is in the US, of course, if you're doing less than 10 mil. So we've been talking about it. I think this definitely opens up the door for more of these DO banks and neo banks, these DO bank being decentralized neobank. I think this is a win for the unbanked because, essentially now we're going to have more parity, more standardization across the world with those who, don't really want to have a bank outside of Revolut or some of these other, online only banks.
Yeah, I think that's going to proliferate even more than it already has. I mean, I happen to be a U.S. citizen, obviously, so I've had that option through Coinbase for a while now, in terms of the Coinbase card. But I mean, it's not really available to, citizens here in Mexico, not in that form at least. But I don't think it'll be long until it is, though.
Oh, that's okay. You can get like a MetaMask card. You can get Soleil's card on Solana. You have a bunch of different options.
Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, I have a MetaMask card as a Mexican resident, basically. So,
see, I'm never gonna get one of those.
Yeah,
the street team's not gonna give me any of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, that's just wanted to talk quickly about this because this is a watershed moment. This is the second ever piece of crypto legislation signed into law. Actually, if you want to say it's really the first real big one, because the first piece, which was earlier this year, which we've covered on the show, was just a resolution that revoked Biden's DeFi broker rule, which meant that protocols now they don't have to self-report to the SEC. So the Clarity Act, which is going to be, I'm hoping, approved within the next 10 days before the end of the month, will, or rather, it was approved, will be signed in the next 10 days. We'll really talk more to the oversight piece on, where does that jurisdiction lie? Where's the responsibility lie? The SEC can go kick rocks, that type of thing. Well, they're nice now, right? They weren't nice 7 months ago. But we'll see where we go from there. But this is bullish for, a lot of people, I think, specifically in DeFi, because we do have big pieces like Circle and Tether that are active on multiple blockchains that can do. That can really just do well and drive good policy from this standpoint. There'll be some interesting marketing for sure. So before we head to our featured panelist here, Rich from Amana Finance, again, thanks to Rich for being here, Mike from Netcoins, and Robert from Talisman. I did want to talk a little bit about Netcoins, and they've got a brand new referral program. Mike, give me a little bit of a rundown for what you're offering here.
Yeah, so we just relaunched our referral and affiliate programs for Netcoins. It's available for Canadian residents, so sorry, US, we can't do that there yet. But simple program, refer a friend, earn $25, and then we have an affiliate program, so you can get paid on higher tiers based on people that you refer. But I think it's up to about $40. You have to sign up for the affiliate program. Referral program is pretty basic. You just get a referral code, and everyone you refer in and start trading, you get rewarded for it. So our dev team put in a lot of work to make that happen. We're super excited to have it back.
Sorry, I was just totally scrolling the website, realizing that no one can see it. Netcoins.com/referral-program or netcoins.com/affiliate. If you are a resident of the great country of Canada and want to, tell your friends about DeFi, which is something that we totally support here at Total Value Locked, is a fantastic segue into my next piece please check out netcoins.com/affiliate or referral-program. And thanks, of course, to Mike for being here with this fantastic analysis that we value every time he's here. That leads us to, the big show. What we have here at Beacon DeFi, this is our free group, Total Value Locked. If you are looking to learn about decentralized finance, and thanks to everybody who's here watching us live or listening on our podcast, feel free to check us out. It's absolutely free, school.com/beacon. And you get to learn how you can take your existing crypto that you're holding and find out new ways to make that money work for you. And that's the beautiful thing about decentralized finance, the thing you're going to hear about with Amana in just a second. And one thing we definitely want you to do is, if you haven't had a chance to, is to check out the Beacon Challenge. And that is our challenge course to help you earn your first DeFi dollar within 48 hours. beacondefi.io/challenge. Take the challenge today. And of course, shout out to all of our mastermind members and challenge members who have helped make all of this possible. We love you guys. And yeah, join us here. Total Value Lock, completely free. Join the many, many who have come here and are learning every day on how to do more with their crypto. Okay. So featured guest today, we have Rich from Amana. And Rich, I'll go ahead and start. We have a brand new landing page for you guys. Beautiful. I love the color choices you have here, sir. AmanaDeFi.com is the website if you want to check that out. As a new introduction to our community, please take a second to introduce what Amana is about and how you got started.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, we literally deployed this about an hour ago. So this is absolutely fresh. And you can see there at the top, you earn yield from any chain on any chain, which is really the key USP there. I'll go into a bit of the backstory just now, but that's the value prop. And I think, Chris, when you and I met last week, what really struck me as the overlap is this desire to bring DeFi to more people. So the desire to make it easier to get into, easier to understand, easier to navigate, easier to invest into the different opportunities. And I think the second piece for me is I've been in this space now for 5 or 6 years. I rode the DeFi summer wave up and down and saw the scams and saw the real projects and saw a lot in that time. And I think what's exciting to me is to bring real world, how do you put it? Real people who want to earn decent yields on their assets into DeFi, rather than just being caught in a loop of kind of feeding the same audience the latest degen project. So we're focusing a lot on stable coins. We're focusing a lot on major natives and vaults that people can invest into that have real economic activity underlying them. So we know that the APY is sustainable to some degree. So that's where we are today. Chris, I'm happy to go into some more detail about how this all happened and how I arrived at the point where I was building this. How do you want to go?
Yeah, let's start with that. So for those who are curious about the underpinnings, you guys launched on Zeta Chain, which is a fantastic cross-chain infrastructure. I wanted to just first start by asking, kind of explaining, how you kind of got to the decision to partner with Zeta Chain on this, and what's that experience been like for you, being able to have access to practically every chain in your back pocket?
Yeah, great question. So I've worked for a couple of different protocols in the DeFi space, mostly in the yield optimization space, and then took a kind of sideways step into refi and worked for a group out of Berlin. We were doing tokenized carbon credits, which is a very interesting experience, but ultimately one where I don't think the market was ready for it. And coming out of that project, I was looking around for something new to do. I actually went to ETH in Brussels last year to kind of pick up the pulse of what was happening in the ETH community and in DeFi generally. I became aware of the Zeta Chain guys while I was there. And then through a contact of mine, it was actually my first boss in crypto, when we had a protocol called Crystal Finance. And I was
with a K?
Crystal with a C.
Oh,
So it was on Polygon, Crystal Finance. And great guy that I worked with back in those days. Funny little story, little tangent here. We all worked anon So we'd never seen each other's faces, but we'd worked together for nearly a year. And then we all went to ECC in Paris. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, and basically met up in a little apartment that we booked on Airbnb for the first time. And it was the most bizarre experience to have to put the faces to the voices, and and actually even more than being Anon, some of the guys had avatars that were real images of real people, but they weren't them. So I mean, it was a very, very strange experience, but great group of guys. So Austin put me in touch with the guys at Zeta Chain. I was looking to come back from refi into DeFi itself. I think that's the place where I really felt most at home and most excited about the opportunities. And they were looking for people to build, apps that made full use of and really capitalized on what Zeta Chain can do. And so we quite quickly came to an agreement that I would start to build this omni-chain yield aggregator that would really leverage the power of the gateway contracts and the cross-chain messaging on Zeta Chain. So I'm happy to dive into a little bit more of the technical details there. If I start glazing over, let me know. But I'm happy to share with you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up, but this is probably the best thing that you could have put on the front page, honestly. For a lot of people who are watching this, they don't know a whole lot about DeFi. You're looking for a lot of good trusted protocols that will give you realistic returns on your money, right? We can talk about all the apes and all of these other things that we want, but you really want to get true earnings on your hard-earned capital. And that's what a lot of people are looking for specifically in DeFi. So I love that you have this calculator on here. I don't have a savings account with 1% to 2% that's less than $500,000. I use this example all the time. My savings account is with a credit union. Love them to death. 0.025%.
Wow.
So I'm definitely not earning, that on my money. But the fact that with $1,000, looking at a really good, let's say this is the money market savings, right? That's probably your 1% to 2% there. $15 over a year, that's not bad. But with inflation being 15% year over year, you're technically losing money there. Treasuries, we're profiting off of U.S. debt, probably a little bit better. There's a lot of people who are interested in that because that is a safe yield with regards to that. Equities, if you want to play that game, over $1,000 gets you $125 over a year. Problem is that's hard to track. But looking at some of these DeFi protocols, being able to have 16% on a really good strategy across multiple blockchains, earning $160 off $1,000 as return value is tremendous. Do not let anybody tell you otherwise, because people are like, oh, I was hoping for higher yield. Where are you going to find this? You're not. Yeah, I'm just telling you all right now, you guys are fleecing yourselves. You're gassing yourselves up. If you think you're coming into crypto looking for 100%, 1,000% APR or something sustainable, it's not going to happen, guys. The holy grail for stable coins in this space is 20%. And I mean that with all of the conviction in my body. If you can get to 20%, that's the holy grail in this space. Institutions are perfectly fine with 3 to 4%. Mike, am I wrong about that?
Yeah. I mean, if you can earn 20%, you're one of the best investors on the planet.
Exactly.
Warren Buffett turned one of the richest guys ever because he did 30% for a number of years early in his career. So,
yeah, in order to get those, you have to access someone who's on the street, right? Here you get direct access to great yields like this. And sorry, Rich, I'm not trying to make a commercial for you, but let's go inside and look inside the app for you. I'm just trying to drive the point home to people who are part of our audience who may not realize, how powerful this is. Even if you're just curious about this space, the fact that you can go and sit down and with 2 clicks of the mouse, have your money in a protocol that's been audited, that has good strategies, earning you real returns on your money every second. People ask all the time, is it how often do I get returns? Guys, it's every block. And I don't know what the block finality time is on your protocol, Rich. I'm assuming it's below 1 second, but
depends which chain we're investing into. So, part of the beauty of Amana is that you can see here already on this page. It's a good page to stay on. So we've got opportunities on Ethereum, BSC, quite a few on Ethereum, on Base, on Polygon. We will have more coming. We've got one on Arbitrum. I can't see it there right now. It might be on the second page, but
it's right here.
There we go. So, we'll have Avalanche soon as well. We'll have Solana coming soon as well, which is exciting. I like to zoom in a little bit on these. I mean, you can look at that first one, USDC, USDF, 21% at the moment. There's a nice little chart that I love that my guys came up with down at the bottom there, which shows you what the APY has been doing over time. So obviously this is a variable rate, but, and I'll talk a little bit more about what you can do about that over time. But what's happening under the hood there is that's a convex pool, right? And a curve pool underneath that. So the curve pool is where people are able to trade USDC for USDF. Obviously, there's a fee every time somebody makes a trade, and that fee gets paid to those who provide the liquidity for the trades to happen. So this, for me, is the essence of DeFi. It's not me putting my dollars into a bank, which then decides, takes that money and decides what they're going to do with it and how they're going to earn a small return for you, and then, or earn a decent return and only give you a small portion of it. Here you're able to say, okay, I see what the mechanism is here. There's a trading pool. I'm providing liquidity, which is useful for those wanting to trade. And in return, I get some fees. I mean, you got to look at that and go, surely trading fees don't add up to 21% per year. So what we have here is, and we've been talking about stable coins today, we've got a new stable coin, USDF. And obviously, in order for their stable coin to be successful, there needs to be liquidity in this pool so people can trade in and out of that stable coin. So what they do is they add additional rewards on top of the normal trading fees, and that's how you're able to see these kind of outsized returns. They don't last forever, but they run a campaign of say 3 months, 4 months on actually putting those rewards on top. And I can get into it, but that's part of the challenge of DeFi, right? Is that the opportunities move around a lot of the time. Chris, let me pass back to you there. I'm happy to say more about intelligent vaults and where we want to move to next with these kind of vaults. But yeah, you guide me. What would your users like to know?
Oh no, I love all the visual cues that you have here. This is perfect for newer users who are here. One thing I will say is that Ethereum will have higher gas fees, so that's one thing to consider with regards to what you have here. But the reason that strategies like this are possibly better for most people is that if you're on curve and convex, because convex is a yield optimizer, as we call it, for curve rather, there is a flywheel game that you have to invest into. You don't have to do that through here because you're using what we call the strength in numbers play from this vault from Amana to take care of all that for you, because they're reinvesting those tokens and you're just getting the exposure without having to play the game, which is why a lot of people who are big fans of protocols like Aerodrome, Velodrome, Shadow, Ramses, they do like going to a yield optimizer oftentimes because they don't want to have to worry about buying specific governance tokens and vote escrow tokens and investing those. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about the NFT in this case too. Getting into this gets you the exposure as well as good risk-adjusted yield. I love that you have a risk score here. This is good for people who are curious to learn more about what is their money doing in terms of how risky is it to other strategies. And you clearly say exactly what the vault is doing, which is fantastic. Take note, all of you others who are doing things like this with 46, 26 vaults and stuff like that. Tell the users exactly what's happening with their money, because for me, teaching newer people on how to come into DeFi and become competent DeFi investors, this is the one thing they're looking for. They will research more and trust you more if you tell them upfront exactly what their money is doing in your protocol. So kudos to you for that. That's fantastic. Along with the APY curve, that's always good as well. I'll open it up to Mike and Robert. If you guys have any specific questions, please feel free.
I don't have any specific questions. I just want to say this looks really, really nice. The calculator on the main page, where you can have it split down on different time frames, 1 to 365 days. That's so cool. And even for people that are not just getting into DeFi, just in finance in general, that's such a great tool to show them, how much they can earn when they actually invest their money and what that breaks down to. Because a lot of people, when they're even getting new into finance, you know, they don't think about how to extrapolate out for compound interest. But when you can show them, oh, you can put $1,000 in and you can earn, you know, that's maybe only $1 or $2 today. But as that grows, you know, you can start making this much per day on your money. And then they start thinking, wait, well, I'm making, you know, a couple $100 a day and my money can make that for me without doing anything. That's such a cool tool that, you know, everybody should be looking at. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's daily compounding as well, correct, Rich?
Yeah, so we would compound those daily, depending on the vault. And how much is going through it. Yeah.
What about you, Robert?
Yeah, I think just being able to visualize everything like this so clearly for advanced users and new, relatively new DeFi users is pretty big, because not all platforms or dApps have this so clearly laid out and readily available. So yeah,
and it's a good set of partners you got here too, Rich. These 5 here are very, very good. I wanted to talk about a couple of things that are really great specifically for what you're doing here. One's the wallet optional onboarding using something like Purview, of course, because you can actually have a smart contract wallet created for you inside of this app. If you choose to use like a throwaway email, if you want to use a throwaway social media account, you can do that and have a wallet that's created for you on the back end directly here. So you can actually create a little bit of an insulation from a risk standpoint. So it's not being brought in with the rest of your wallets. You just have to obviously understand with self-custody, you have to manage all of that. But I did want to talk to you a little bit about the intelligent vaults. That's really interesting. So tell us a little bit about your intelligent vaults and how that works.
Absolutely. I mean, I think where this all starts from is seeing that APY graph, right?
Yep.
The APYs can range from 4%, and then, you know, it's up to 20% because it's a rewards program, and then it's down again. And that's not just based on rewards, it's based on utilization. So as a DeFi user up till now, you know, you've got to be a pretty active participant in the ecosystem to really keep your returns where you want them to be. You know, you need to be scanning, and I know, Chris, you do a lot of this work, you know, scanning the ecosystem. Where are the good APYs at the moment? Then if things change and you want to move funds, that's, you know, logging into the app that you're in, withdrawing the funds. Maybe there's a couple of steps to that, unstaking, withdrawing. Maybe you have to move them to a different chain now, you know, because the opportunity is on the different chains. That's bridging your funds across. Then you reinvest them into a different app, only to discover a week later that all of the, you know, the kind of the great returns you thought you were going to get have moved somewhere else. And so intelligent vaults really for us is saying, okay, well, if our users are interested in stablecoin returns, we create a stablecoin vault and we are scanning from off-chain basis, scanning a bunch of different opportunities. And we might have filters for these. We'll say we'll scan a whole bunch of liquidity pools that involve US dollars across these protocols on these chains. Then we have an algorithm which is actually analyzing what would be the optimal allocation of, you know, $1 million across all of these different yield sources that would yield us the best overall APY for the funds we have in the vault. And then the vault rebalances to that optimal allocation. So, you know, we're still playing around with this, but we can rebalance once a day, we can rebalance once a week, we can really, you know, kind of set this up how we like to do it. We can create a vault that's just an ETH vault with different ETH opportunities. We can create one that's on one chain, that's on multiple chains. So really, what users get is the great returns they're looking for without having to make this their day job and be, you know, scouring the DeFi markets 24/7. So I don't want to take you out of a job, Chris, but you know, this is what we're looking to do with the intelligent vaults.
No, what I think is great about that is that you're providing the one thing that we love to give to our community, which is convenience, right? Peace of mind, the ability to not spend tons of time farming, which is something we talk about all the time. The key for us when you come through our system, through our Beacon Ascent framework, is to get into a system where your farming takes less than 30 minutes per week. And that's key, right? Because you can go to, I mean, I'm not going to throw them under the bus too hard, but if you go to Aerodrome right now and you set up an LP position, it is a supreme time-wasting situation. If you go to Yearn and set up a vault, it is an unbelievably long process to set up an LP position there. You know, a couple clicks here, understanding the risks, I think is great. One thing I did want to point out for anybody who's watching and they're a little curious about this, this is their actual vault allocation. This is not the actual TVL of the protocol that they are optimizing. So keep that in mind. There's many hundreds of thousands or millions of, particularly like in the BNB vault, the USD one on Aave, there's way more than $361. There's millions in that one. So just keep that in mind. This is a vault that sits on top of that. One thing I think would be a great idea is to, my personal favorite starting position when I first came out, which was on Curve way back in the day, I'm aging myself, is Try Crypto. So being able to come up with an interesting take on the Try Crypto vault, which is BTC, ETH, and then a pack of stable coins in a vault to earn more than 20%, I think is a fantastic idea. And you have the tools to do it because you have Zeta Chain that is that's cross ecosystem. So being able to find the best one on all different ones to put together into one vault, I think would be fun.
It's sort of like a multi-asset vault, so you've got exposure across all three assets. Absolutely.
And that's an easy model for new people to start off because they're like, there's so much here to understand. I'm like, well, we like to start people off on models that make sense. So understanding how an ETF works, or an index fund, or a multi-asset vault, so you can kind of see very clearly what that entails. You're not jumping into concentrated liquidity, in a specific percentage tick range, or stuff like that. And you're not trading, right? So this is all PVE stuff. So that's great.
Yeah. I also want to give a quick shout out. I know we're close to time, but these two vaults you see there, the one YUSD on Aegis and SUSN on Noon Capital, these are two protocols that we've partnered with. We've done co-marketing and co-seeding. I was on an AMA with Noon Capital earlier this evening, listening to the founder speak. He's ex-McKinsey, ex-Goldman, doing fascinating things here with Noon Capital. I think we spoke about them earlier. So there's the 14.5% Aegis again. This is Bitcoin backed. Again, delta neutral strategies on Bitcoin to actually be able to provide you with 16%. You can see that's taken a real spike. I'm not sure if that's just because of the price action in Bitcoin, but that return's really boosted up in the last few weeks. Both of these are new protocols in the stablecoin space. Both of them are issuing points programs on top of what you see here as the APY. Noon have already TGE'd, and the other one will release a token in the future. So on top of this APY that you're seeing, there are opportunities for airdrop conversion as well.
Well, there's some alpha right there for you guys. Thanks to Rich for that. I noticed you do have a leaderboard here. So obviously this is something for, actually, I don't think they might be real people.
That's fake data for now. So we've got our leaderboard behind the scenes, but we're doing a complete overhaul of this section, just with more quests and involvement for our users.
So is this live now, or are we still in beta phase?
That's live. The leaderboard needs connecting up. So we're snagging some things at the moment.
I will say for our Mastermind and Beacon Challenge members, I will be putting this YUSD pool up on our Beacon Spotlight, where we get the best rates from DeFi every week. So thanks for this one, Rich. Really appreciate that. Anything else you want to impart on us before we wrap up?
No, I think we've covered it all. The intelligent vaults. We've got Bitcoin capability coming soon, so you'll be able to deposit native Bitcoin into Amana, which then gets routed into some kind of EVM or Solana pool where you're earning yield on your Bitcoin. So we're already
big news.
Yeah, hoping to tempt some of the diamond hands in the Bitcoin space over into the EVM DeFi space.
Yeah, guys, check them out.
Come check us out. We're lots of exciting things coming on the protocol. The intelligent vaults will be launching some of those very soon, and launching other vaults as we go. Like new opportunities coming onto the protocol every single week. So please come and check us out. AmanaDeFi.com. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for being here again. Backed on Zeta Chain for that cross chain sauce. I love it. I love this calculator. As Mike alluded to earlier, being able to actually see based on different existing models where you're going to fall, as opposed to getting into Amana. And again, we never talk about going 100% any one protocol. This is a really great way to diversify your stack. If you're looking to find better ways to get your money working for you, please feel free to check out our guests here from Amana DeFi. Rich, thanks for being here. Thanks for the insights. Would love to have you back anytime.
Would love to be back. Thanks, Chris.
And let's say thank you, of course, to our panelists. Let's start with you, Mike, Netcoins. Thanks for being here today. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a really fun show to be on. Yeah, hit me up on X at Mike A Kit, KITT. Get me there.
Yeah, and we'll have that on the comments as well. So please, of course, follow all of our guests on their socials as well. Help them grow because they're helping you grow your bags. Roberto, Worldwide DJ, talk to me, man.
Quick. Yeah, I'm on X Omega__84. And yeah, check out Talisman as well, of course. Always talisman.xyz.
That's our choice for especially if you're into BitTensor, and that's one of our asymmetric upside bets that we love to talk about in our community. And again, if you want to check out our community, please feel free to do so. School.com/beacon, absolutely free to do so. And have I had the banner running this entire time? I'm so sorry. I gotta get better.
Ticker.
I need a producer. That's what I need. Anyway, we do this show every week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We've been doing it since December of 2021, guys. Love doing it. Love educating our audience. Love helping getting people into crypto. We do have a weekly free training. That's Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's our Beat the Banks training, where we help deep dive into specific topics that people are looking for. Check us out. That'll be live streamed here on these same outlets. And again, thanks to everybody who's on our show today. Panel, stick around for a second as we do our outro. And we'll have another great panel next week here on the Beacon TVL show. As we often say here on this show. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. 07, Beacons up, Banks down. Take care, everybody. I need outro music.